The year was 2157. Humanity had spread beyond Earth, building homes on the red dust of Mars and beneath the icy crust of Europa. It was a time of hope and adventure as people looked to the stars with wonder. Captain Sam Winters stood on the bridge of the Earth Alliance vessel, Horizon. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and eyes that had seen both war and peace. The ship hummed softly around him as it traveled through the darkness at the edge of explored space. "Captain, we're picking up an unusual signal," said Communications Officer Diane Fisher. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. Sam walked over and looked at the readings. "Not one of ours. Not from any known alliance either." "First contact, sir?" asked Lieutenant Gary Phillips, his voice barely hiding his excitement. "Possibly," Sam replied. "Alert the diplomatic team. I want everyone ready but cautious." Within hours, the Horizon found itself face to face with an enormous vessel that seemed to shimmer like crystal in the starlight. It was 3 times the size of their ship, with graceful curves that no human engineer could have designed. "They're hailing us, sir," Diane said. On screen, the view screen filled with the image of a tall, crystalline being. It had a humanoid shape but was made entirely of what looked like living crystal. Light pulsed through its body in complex patterns. "I am Kazarin of the Xorelian Empire," the being said, its voice oddly musical. "Identify yourselves, organic creatures. I am Captain Sam Winters of the Earth Alliance vessel, Horizon. We come in peace, seeking friendship among the stars." The crystalline being seemed to shimmer with what might have been amusement. "Earth Alliance. We have never heard of your kind. How quaint." Over the next few days, the humans learned about the mighty Xorelian Empire, a civilization that had dominated their sector of space for thousands of years. The Xorelians were telepathic beings who lived for centuries. Their technology was far beyond human understanding, using crystals and energy in ways Earth scientists could only dream about. But with each meeting, Sam noticed something troubling. The Xorelians didn't just think they were advanced. They openly mocked humans. "Your bodies are so fragile," said Kazarin during one meeting. "Made of meat and bone that rots so quickly. How do you accomplish anything in your brief lives?" "We make the most of the time we have," Sam answered calmly, though he felt his face grow warm. Another Xorelian, Tezalak, laughed when the human team explained their propulsion systems. "You still use fusion drives. We abandoned such primitive technology millennia ago." Despite the insults, Sam kept his diplomats focused on their mission. After a week of tense negotiations, they secured a non-aggression pact. It wasn't the friendship they had hoped for, but it would keep Earth safe while they learned more about these powerful aliens. As the Horizon prepared to return home, Kazarin delivered a final message. "We have classified your species as developing primitives. You may continue your existence in your small corner of space. Perhaps in 1,000 years, you will be worthy of true dialogue with us." Sam forced a smile. "We appreciate your generosity. We look forward to proving ourselves worthy allies in less time than you might expect." Back on Earth, Ambassador Lisa Morgan received their report with a frown. She was a seasoned diplomat with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that missed nothing. "So they think we're jokes," she said, reviewing the video recordings of the meetings. "Pretty much," Sam replied. "They call us ephemeral meat puppets behind our backs." Lisa's lips formed a thin line. "Well, I've dealt with tough audiences before. We're sending a full delegation to this Xorelia Prime. If they want to laugh at us, they can do it to our faces." As Sam left the meeting, he couldn't help but wonder if humanity had finally met a challenge too great to overcome. But something told him that the Xorelians had made a serious mistake by underestimating humans. They might be laughing now, but Sam had a feeling they wouldn't be laughing for long. The year was 2157. Humanity had spread beyond Earth, building homes on the red dust of Mars and beneath the icy crust of Europa. It was a time of hope and adventure as people looked to the stars with wonder. Captain Sam Winters stood on the bridge of the Earth Alliance vessel, Horizon. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and eyes that had seen both war and peace. The ship hummed softly around him as it traveled through the darkness at the edge of explored space. "Captain, we're picking up an unusual signal," said Communications Officer Diane Fisher. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. Sam walked over and looked at the readings. "Not one of ours. Not from any known alliance either." "First contact, sir?" asked Lieutenant Gary Phillips, his voice barely hiding his excitement. "Possibly," Sam replied. "Alert the diplomatic team. I want everyone ready but cautious." Within hours, the horizon found itself face to face with an enormous vessel that seemed to shimmer like crystal in the starlight. It was 3 times the size of their ship, with graceful curves that no human engineer could have designed. "They're hailing us, sir," Diane said. On screen, the view screen filled with the image of a tall, crystalline being. It had a humanoid shape but was made entirely of what looked like living crystal. Light pulsed through its body in complex patterns. "I am Kazarin of the Xorelian Empire," the being said, its voice oddly musical. "Identify yourselves, organic creatures. I am Captain Sam Winters of the Earth Alliance vessel, Horizon. We come in peace, seeking friendship among the stars." The crystalline being seemed to shimmer with what might have been amusement. "Earth Alliance. We have never heard of your kind. How quaint." Over the next few days, the humans learned about the mighty Xorelian Empire, a civilization that had dominated their sector of space for thousands of years. The Xorelians were telepathic beings who lived for centuries. Their technology was far beyond human understanding, using crystals and energy in ways Earth scientists could only dream about. But with each meeting, Sam noticed something troubling. The Xorelians didn't just think they were advanced. They openly mocked humans. "Your bodies are so fragile," said Kazarin during one meeting. "Made of meat and bone that rots so quickly. How do you accomplish anything in your brief lives?" "We make the most of the time we have," Sam answered calmly, though he felt his face grow warm. Another Xorelian, Tezalak, laughed when the human team explained their propulsion systems. "You still use fusion drives. We abandoned such primitive technology millennia ago." Despite the insults, Sam kept his diplomats focused on their mission. After a week of tense negotiations, they secured a non-aggression pact. It wasn't the friendship they had hoped for, but it would keep Earth safe while they learned more about these powerful aliens. As the Horizon prepared to return home, Kazarin delivered a final message. "We have classified your species as developing primitives. You may continue your existence in your small corner of space. Perhaps in 1,000 years, you will be worthy of true dialogue with us." Sam forced a smile. "We appreciate your generosity. We look forward to proving ourselves worthy allies in less time than you might expect." Back on Earth, Ambassador Lisa Morgan received their report with a frown. She was a seasoned diplomat with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that missed nothing. "So they think we're jokes," she said, reviewing the video recordings of the meetings. "Pretty much," Sam replied. "They call us ephemeral meat puppets behind our backs." Lisa's lips formed a thin line. "Well, I've dealt with tough audiences before. We're sending a full delegation to this Xorelia Prime. If they want to laugh at us, they can do it to our faces." As Sam left the meeting, he couldn't help but wonder if humanity had finally met a challenge too great to overcome. But something told him that the Xorelians had made a serious mistake by underestimating humans. They might be laughing now, but Sam had a feeling they wouldn't be laughing for long. 6 months passed since the humans' difficult meeting with the Xorelian Council. Despite being treated as lesser beings, the Earth Alliance made the most of their limited trading rights. Small human ships now traveled between stars, exchanging goods with other species that the Xorelians also looked down upon. On a secret base hidden on the dark side of a moon orbiting Proxima Centauri II, Jack Howard studied a holographic map of Xorelian defense positions. Jack was a military strategist with a shaved head and keen eyes that missed nothing. He had spent months gathering information on the Crystalline Empire. Notice anything interesting?" he asked Olivia Grant, who had just entered the room. She was a scientist with curly red hair and a mind sharper than most computers. "Their defense grid has gaps," she said, pointing to several spots on the map. "Big ones." Jack nodded. "They've never had to fight a real war in over 3,000 years. Their defenses are for show, not function. It matches what we've learned about their biology," said Paul Rodriguez, joining them. He was a biologist who specialized in alien life forms. Saurelians evolve incredibly slowly. A single generation takes nearly 200 years. "And that affects their thinking?" Jack asked. "Absolutely," Paul replied. "They see no need for rapid change or adaptation. Their society values stability above all else. Innovation happens over centuries, not years." Olivia pulled up her own research on a tablet. Their technology follows the same pattern. They developed faster than light travel over 10,000 years ago, but they've only made minor improvements since then. They found something that works and stopped looking for better ways. Jack walked around the holographic display. "They think their way is perfect because it's been working for so long, but that makes them blind to new threats or opportunities." In another part of space, Captain Sam Winters and a crew of the Horizon were on a different mission. They had been mapping Saurelian society structure for months, visiting worlds under Saurelian control and observing their interactions with other species. "It's the same everywhere we go," Sam told his first officer, Ben Harper, as they shared a meal in his quarters. "The Saurelians give orders, and everyone follows them without question. Like a perfect machine," Ben said. "Too perfect," Sam replied. "Machines break when something unexpected happens. They don't adapt." Ben looked thoughtful. "You think we could use that against them if we needed to?" "I hope we never need to," Sam said. "But yes, I think their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. They've been in power so long they can't imagine any other way." On Earth, Ambassador Lisa Morgan met with the Global Council to share what they had learned. "The Saurelians aren't just arrogant," she explained to the room of world leaders. "They genuinely can't understand rapid change. Their minds don't work that way. They plan in centuries, not days or weeks." "Can we use this to improve our position?" asked President Alan Garcia. "I believe so," Lisa replied. "While they're watching us and laughing, we're learning everything about them. They don't think we're worth worrying about, which gives us freedom to move." Meanwhile, on Sorelia Prime, a young Saurelian scientist named Krenfall was given a boring assignment. He was to monitor human communications and activities, considered a punishment post for someone who had questioned council decisions once too often. At first, Krenfall was as dismissive as his superiors, but as days turned to weeks, he began to notice patterns that troubled him. Humans didn't behave like any species that Saurelians had encountered before. They adapted quickly, learned rapidly, and seemed to thrive on change rather than stability. He filed a report expressing his concerns, but his supervisor laughed it off. "They're primitive creatures with lifespans so short they barely exist. What possible threat could they pose to us?" Krenfall didn't argue, but he continued watching, and what he saw made him increasingly uneasy. The humans weren't just accepting their place in the galaxy. They were quietly making alliances, gathering information, and growing stronger every day. While the Saurelian Council laughed at humans, Krenfall was beginning to wonder if perhaps they should be paying more attention to these strange, adaptable creatures. The alarm sounded throughout the mining colony on Epsilon Station. Susan Kelly, the colony director, stared at the emergency readings in disbelief. "Confirm that data," she ordered her science officer. "Confirmed, Mom. The Viridian star is showing signs of going supernova. We have maybe 2 weeks before the radiation wave hits us." Susan's mind raced. The colony had 3,000 human miners and their families. The evacuation ships stationed at Epsilon could only take about half that number. "Send emergency signals to Earth Alliance and any ships in range," she said. "And contact the Saurelian outpost on Viridian 4. They'll be hit before we are. On the Xorelian outpost, Governor Jexnin received the human warning with typical Xorelian disdain. A supernova? Impossible. That star is stable for at least another millennium according to our calculations. But when their own scientists confirmed the readings, panic spread through the normally calm Xorelian leadership. They had 6,000 citizens on their outpost, and no quick way to evacuate them all. Jexnin sent a formal request to the High Council, asking for emergency evacuation ships. The Council responded that they would send a fleet, but it would take at least 3 months to organize such a large operation. 3 months. Jexnin's crystal body pulsed with alarm. The star will explode in 2 weeks. That is unfortunate, came the reply, but proper procedures must be followed. When Captain Sam Winters of the Horizon received the distress call from Epsilon Station, he immediately changed course. His ship was the closest Earth Alliance vessel, but it would still take 4 days to reach the endangered colonies. "Get me Earth Command," he told Communications Officer Diane. "We need every available ship in this sector, military or civilian. And contact the Xorelian outpost. Let's coordinate rescue efforts." The Xorelians, however, weren't interested in coordination. "We have contacted our council," Jexnin told Sam coldly. "We do not need human assistance." Sam tried again. "Governor, with respect, we've seen the data. There isn't time for your council to send help. If we work together, we might save everyone." "Impossible. The evacuation process requires proper documentation, exit visas, and—" Sam cut the connection in frustration. They'd rather die following procedure than live by breaking the rules, he told his first officer. Over the next 8 days, something remarkable happened. 26 human ships, from military cruisers to civilian freighters, converged on the doomed star system. Engineer Dan Fuller, who had been mocked by the Xorelian Council months earlier, led a team that modified mining shields to protect ships from the increasing radiation. The human ships began evacuating their own colonies, cramming people into every available space. But Sam made a decision that shocked his crew. "We're going to evacuate the Xorelian outpost too," he announced, "whether they want our help or not." When the human ships appeared at the Xorelian outpost, Governor Jexnin was outraged. "This is a violation of our sovereignty. We refuse your assistance." But as the radiation levels rose and the star grew more unstable, individual Xorelians began to approach the human ships, asking for passage to safety. Sam directed the operation from the horizon, working without sleep for days. 3 human ships were badly damaged by radiation, and 1 nearly didn't make it to safety. But by the time the star finally exploded, every single human and Xorelian had been evacuated. The human ships gathered at a safe distance to watch the supernova. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of how small they all were against the forces of the universe. On his ship, Jexnin approached Sam with what passed for humility among Xorelians. "Our people are alive because of human action," he said stiffly. "The council will be informed of this. Assistance." Sam was too tired to feel smug. "We didn't do it to prove a point, Governor. We did it because it was the right thing to do." As the refugee ships set course for safer systems, word of the Nova incident spread throughout the galaxy. The mighty Xorelians, who had mocked humans for their impulsiveness and lack of proper procedure, now faced an uncomfortable truth. Those same traits had saved thousands of Xorelian lives. The High Council met in emergency session to discuss this troubling development. For the first time in centuries, they weren't laughing at humans anymore. The great crystal chamber of the Xorelian High Council hummed with tension. Council leader Zex Thar's body glowed with subtle patterns that indicated displeasure. "Let us be clear about what we tell the public," he said to the 6 other council members. The evacuation of Viridian 4 was already well underway when the humans arrived. They merely provided supplementary assistance. "But that is not what happened," said Laxven, the youngest council member. "The records clearly show that without human intervention, thousands of our people would have died." Records can be adjusted, Zextha replied coldly. We cannot allow stories of human superiority to spread. It would disrupt the natural order. Most council members nodded in agreement, but Laxven remained troubled. Later, in her private chambers, she reviewed the true reports from the Nova incident. The speed with which humans had responded amazed her. They had improvised solutions in days that would have taken Thorellians years to develop. Meanwhile, on Earth, Ambassador Lisa Morgan received a formal message from the Thorellian Council. It was a brief note acknowledging human assistance during the unfortunate stellar event. There was no thanks, no recognition of the 3 damaged human ships or the lives risked to save Thorellian citizens. They're still trying to save face, Lisa told President Garcia as they walked through the gardens of the White House. Spring flowers bloomed around them, a reminder of Earth's beauty. Does it matter? The president asked. We know what really happened, and so do they. It matters because it shows they still don't understand us, Lisa replied. And that could be dangerous for everyone. In secret laboratories on Sorelia Prime, scientists began an intensive study of human history. They were shocked by what they found. It's not possible, said Chief Scientist Dex Marr to his research team. According to these records, humans went from primitive flight to space travel in less than a century, from basic computing to artificial intelligence in less than 200 years. Our analysis suggests they're still accelerating their development, added his assistant. If this trend continues, they could match our technology in just a few centuries. On a secure channel, Council member Vexdor called for action. These creatures are a potential threat. We should limit their expansion now, while we still can. But not all Xorelians felt the same way. The young scientist Krenthal, once assigned to monitor humans as a punishment, had become fascinated by them. He had secretly collected examples of human art, music, and literature. These strange creations, born from such short-lived beings, moved him in ways he couldn't explain. When he was ordered to infiltrate Earth Alliance headquarters as a spy, Krenthal saw it as an opportunity to learn more. Disguised as a diplomatic aide, he gained access to human cultural centers and scientific facilities. What he saw both alarmed and excited him. Humans worked in chaotic, noisy environments. They argued openly, challenged authority, and constantly questioned established methods. It was everything Sorelian society discouraged. Yet somehow, this chaos produced innovation at a rate Krenthal could barely comprehend. In his hidden reports to Laxven, the sympathetic council member, Krenthal wrote, "These creatures think differently than any species we've encountered. They don't see limitations, they see challenges. They don't value stability, they crave change. Most disturbing of all, they learn from failure instead of avoiding it." While the Xorelian Council publicly dismissed the Nova incident as insignificant, Dr. Kate Perry was busy building bridges. She established a multi-species scientific coalition focused on rapid problem-solving. Several lesser species that the Xorelians had long ignored eagerly joined, bringing their own unique perspectives. "We don't need the Xorelians' approval," Kate told her diverse team during their first meeting. "We just need to work together and show results." On her way back to her quarters that evening, Kate passed Krenthal in the hallway. The disguised Xorelian nodded politely, but Kate noticed something unusual in his crystalline eyes, a flash of what looked almost like admiration. The seeds of doubt were beginning to grow in the mighty Xorelian Empire. Though they still laughed at humans in public, a growing number were beginning to wonder if perhaps they had severely underestimated these strange, short-lived beings. It began with small cracks appearing in the outer layers of a few Xorelians on a distant mining world. At first, no one worried much. Minor crystal flaws happened occasionally and usually healed on their own. But these cracks didn't heal. They spread. Within weeks, the affected Xorelians began to lose their color. Their internal light patterns grew dim. Some stopped moving entirely, frozen in crystalline death. The Xorelian doctors were puzzled. Nothing like this had happened in their recorded history. They placed the affected world under quarantine and began slow, methodical research as they had always done. Then reports came from another world, and another. The mysterious illness was spreading faster than the Sorelians could track it. In the High Council chamber, fear replaced arrogance for the first time in millennia. 14 worlds infected, reported Health Minister Pexlar, her crystal form pulsing with stress patterns. Over 20,000 citizens showing symptoms, 9,000 already dead. How long until a cure is developed? Asked Zexthar. Our best scientists estimate 7 to 10 years for a complete solution. The chamber filled with sounds of distress. We don't have years, said Council Member Vexdor. At the current rate of spread, half our population could be infected within months. Laxvin, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. The humans have experience with rapidly mutating diseases. Their biology forces them to adapt quickly. Perhaps they could help. Accept help from primitives. Zexthar's voice was sharp with scorn. What could they possibly know that we don't? They saved our people at Viridian 4 when we couldn't, Laxven reminded him. Perhaps they could surprise us again. As the debate raged in the council, the young Sorelian scientist Krenful made a decision. His cover as a spy gave him access to human communication systems. Without authorization, he sent a message to Dr. Kate Perry, describing the symptoms of what Sorelians were now calling the Crystal Plague. Kate received the message while working late in her lab. She immediately called Ambassador Lisa Morgan. They're dying, Kate explained, showing Lisa the detailed report. Their crystal structures are breaking down from the inside out. It's spreading through multiple star systems. And this Krenful wants our help. Lisa asked, surprised. Not the official Sorelian government. He says the official channels would take too long. He believes we can find a solution because we think differently than they do. Lisa considered this for a long moment. The Sorelians have treated us like children since first contact. They've mocked us, limited our trade, and barely acknowledged our help during the Nova incident. True, Kate agreed, but this is a chance to prove we're better than they are. 3 days later, Lisa stood before the Earth Alliance Council with a proposal. I recommend we offer full medical assistance to the Sorelian Empire without conditions. After how they've treated us, one counselor objected. Especially after how they've treated us, Lisa replied. This isn't about getting even. It's about showing who we really are. The vote was unanimous. Within days, Dr. Kate Perry led a team of Earth's best medical researchers to a neutral space station where they could study samples of infected crystal. Krenful, dropping all pretense of being a spy, worked alongside them. The human approach shocked the Sorelians. Instead of careful, methodical research, the humans tried dozens of approaches simultaneously. They made mistakes, failed, adjusted, and tried again. Their progress was chaotic, but incredibly fast. This shouldn't work, Krenful said to Kate one night as they examined test results. Your methods violate every principle of proper scientific procedure. Kate smiled. Sometimes you have to break the rules to find new solutions. After 3 weeks of non-stop work, Kate's team developed a nanite-based treatment that could repair the damaged crystal structures. It was based on principles of human immune response, adapted to work with crystalline life, something no Sorelian would have considered possible. When they presented their findings to the Sorelian Health Ministry, there was stunned silence. The cure worked. It actually worked. But accepting it would mean acknowledging that the humans, the primitive, short-lived creatures they had laughed at, had succeeded where Sorelian science had failed. The High Council faced a devastating choice: accept human help and lose face, or maintain their pride and watch their people die by the millions. The debate in the Sorelian High Council lasted 3 full days. As they argued, thousands more of their people fell ill. Reports from the outer colonies grew increasingly desperate. The crystal plague was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Finally, council leader Zexthar made the hardest decision of his 1,000-year life. We will accept the human cure, he announced. his voice heavy with defeat. Our people's survival must come before our pride. Ambassador Lisa Morgan received the official request for help with quiet satisfaction. Within hours, human medical ships were on their way to Xorelian worlds, carrying the nanite treatment Dr. Kate Perry and her team had developed. The treatment worked better than anyone had expected. The nanites, programmed to repair crystal structures at the molecular level, stopped the disease in its early stages and slowed its progress in advanced cases. Within weeks, the death rate dropped to near zero. On Sorelia Prime, the capital world of the Empire, a formal ceremony was arranged to thank the humans. It was unprecedented. Never before had the Xorelians publicly acknowledged another species as worthy of such honor. Captain Sam Winters and Dr. Kate Perry stood in the magnificent Crystal Hall, representing Earth Alliance. Sam felt strange in his formal uniform after so many months in space. Kate nervously checked the data pad containing her speech. Thousands of Xorelians filled the hall, their crystal bodies creating a symphony of light and color. At the front, Council leader Zexthar rose to speak. For millennia, the Xorelian Empire has led the galaxy, he began, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. We believed our long lives and stable society made us superior to all other species. When we first encountered humans, we saw only their limitations, their short lives, their chaotic ways, their constant changing. He paused, and patterns of humility appeared across his crystal form, an expression most Xorelians never showed. We laughed at humans, not understanding that their greatest strength lies in what we perceived as weakness, their adaptability, their creativity born from short lives, and their stubborn refusal to accept limitations. While we were mocking them, they were saving us, first at Viridian 4, and now from the crystal plague that threatened our entire species. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Many Xorelians were hearing this truth for the first time. Today, I am honored to announce that Earth and humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Alliance, with Xorelia as their sponsor. The hall erupted in light pulses, the Xorelian equivalent of applause. Sam and Kate exchanged surprised glances. This was more than they had hoped for. After the ceremony, Krenthal approached them. He no longer pretended to be a diplomatic aide, but wore the markings of a Xorelian scientific advisor. I have been appointed as the first Xorelian cultural attaché to Earth, he told them. I hope to learn more about your art, your music, your humanity. We look forward to learning from you as well, Kate replied warmly. 1 month later, construction began on a joint human-Xorelian research station. Located at the midpoint between Earth and Xorelia Prime, it was named Adaptation. On the day it opened, scientists from both worlds gathered in the main laboratory. Human researchers in their environmental suits worked alongside crystalline Xorelians. Their methods were different, but they complemented each other perfectly. Human innovation paired with Xorelian precision. Sam Winters, now promoted to Admiral, stood with Lisa Morgan watching the historic collaboration. Do you remember when they called us ephemeral meat puppets? Lisa asked with a smile. Sam laughed. Hard to forget. But look at us now. In the lab, a young human scientist showed a Xorelian colleague how to use Earth's newest medical scanner. The Xorelian, in turn, demonstrated a crystal-based data storage system that could hold information for millennia. We still have much to learn from each other, Sam said thoughtfully. But at least they're not laughing anymore. Lisa nodded. They laughed at humans until they realized the truth too late, that our greatest strengths were the very things they mocked. But in the end, perhaps they didn't realize it too late after all. As they watched, human and Xorelian researchers celebrated a small breakthrough, their different forms of joy, human laughter and Xorelian light pulses, blending together in perfect harmony. A new era had begun, one where difference was not a cause for mockery, but a source of strength.